Whoever rules the waves rules the world. This quote by Alfred Thayer Mahan reminds us that oceans have always been central to global power, influence, and security. And today, that reality is more relevant than ever. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sonali, and I'm truly honored to be speaking here today as part of the Graduate Student Talk series. I extend my heartfelt thanks to GSTS organizing team for inviting me and giving me this platform to present my thoughts on an issue of growing global concern, maritime security, and IUU fishing. I have completed my master's in political science from Ramjas College, University of Delhi. My interest in this particular topic, the intersection of maritime security and illegal, unreported, and unregulated, what we are calling today as IUU fishing, emerged from reading how the world's oceans, while being essential to trade, livelihoods, and ecological balance, are increasingly under threat. I was particularly struck by the way IUU fishing not only erodes economic resources but also undermines sovereignty, disrupts regional peace, and contributes to ecological collapse. As someone trained in political science, I see this not just as a marine or environmental issue, but also as a deep political problem, demanding strong governance, international cooperation, as well as inclusive policy solutions. This attempt is my to bring attention to that very urgency on how we need to rethink the politics of ocean spaces and why countries like India have a vital role to play in securing them. Before I begin with the main presentation, I would once again like to thank the entire GSTS team and our honorable guest of the day and everyone present here for being part of this conversation. I look forward to your insights and interactions as we move ahead. Let me begin our journey into the world of maritime security by setting the tone with today's theme, exploring the ocean's front lines, why maritime security and illegal, unregulated, unreported fishing matters today. Before I move ahead, I would briefly share the objective of today's presentation. These will give you a sense of what we'll be discussing today and why this topic is so important, especially in today's global context. First, we will understand how the idea of maritime security has evolved. पहले समुद्री सुरक्षा का मतलब सिर्फ नौसेना या समुद्री लुटेरों से रक्षा थी, लेकिन आज यह एक व्यापक अवधारणा बन चुकी है जिसमें पर्यावरण, अर्थव्यवस्था और मानव सुरक्षा भी शामिल है. Second, we will dive into the issue of illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing और IUU fishing. हम जानेंगे कि IUU fishing क्या है, कैसे होती है और क्यों ये केवल एक पर्यावरणीय मुद्दा नहीं बल्कि राष्ट्रीय संप्रभुता और वैश्विक न्याय का प्रश्न है. Third, we will explore some of the major global efforts to tackle this crisis. हम अंतरराष्ट्रीय स्तर पर चल रही पहलों को समझेंगे, जैसे FAO द्वारा पोर्ट स्टेट मेजर्स एग्रीमेंट, ग्लोबल फिशिंग वॉच और इंटरपोल की प्रोजेक्ट स्केल, जो समुद्रों में पारदर्शिता और न्याय की भावना को बढ़ावा देने का काम कर रहे हैं. फोर्थ, वी विल लुक एट व्हाट इंडिया इज डूइंग इन दिस स्पेस. भारत ने किस तरह से सैटेलाइट ट्रैकिंग, तटीय निगरानी, दैट इज कोस्टल सर्विलांस और मछुआरों की सहायता जैसी पहल को अपनाया है. इस पर ध्यान देंगे. हम समझेंगे कि भारत IUU फिशिंग के खिलाफ बहुपक्षीय रणनीति कैसे बना रहा है. एंड फाइनली वी विल रिफ्लेक्ट ऑन द नीड फॉर अ न्यू एजेंडा. हमें एक नई सोच की आवश्यकता है जो समुद्रों को केवल संसाधनों का भंडार ना मानकर साझा उत्तरदायित्व के क्षेत्र के रूप में देखे. समुद्र सीमाओं का अंत नहीं, सहयोग की शुरुआत है. So these are the 5 main objectives guiding today's presentation. By the end, I hope we will be able to understand why securing our ocean is not just about defense, but about governance, cooperation, and sustainability. Moving on to why oceans matter. As we all know, oceans cover over 70% of our planet, carry 90% of our global trade, and provide food and income for billions. They regulate climate, store carbon, and host rich biodiversity. They regulate the global economy, from energy to fisheries to tourism, depends heavily on safe and secure oceans. And yet, Despite decentrality, ocean remains deeply vulnerable, particularly to crimes and resource exploitation. That happens out of sight. That's when the lens of maritime security becomes essential. महासागर सिर्फ पानी का बड़ा हिस्सा ही नहीं, ये हमारे जीवन, संस्कृति और पहचान को गहराइयों से जोड़ता है. भारत में समुद्र को पवित्र माना जाता है. गंगा सागर, रामेश्वरम और पुरी जैसे तीर्थ समुद्र तट पर बसे हुए हैं, जहां लोग पूजा करने, शांति पाने जाते हैं. कई त्योहार जैसे छठ पूजा समुद्र या नदी के किनारे मनाए जाते हैं. भारत की बहुत सी लोक कथाएं, गीत और नृत्य भी समुद्र और मछुआरों की जिंदगी से जुड़े हैं. दुनिया भर में तटीय समुदाय समुद्र को मां की तरह मानते हैं, जो खाना, रोजगार और सुरक्षा देती है. समुद्र जीवन देता है, जलवायु को संतुलित रखता है और अलग अलग देशों को जोड़ने वाला काम भी करता है. Therefore, securing ocean is not just an environmental effort or an effort to preserve environment only, but also an effort to preserve, protect culture, prestige, and future. Now, moving on to understand what is maritime security. Before that, I will explain what does maritime zones stand for and how they are divided. अब तक हमने समझा कि समुद्र हमारे लिए क्यों जरूरी है और समुद्री सुरक्षा का मतलब सिर्फ सैन्य ताकत से ही नहीं बल्कि पर्यावरण, जीवन और न्याय से भी जुड़ा है. Now I would like to explain a very basic but important concept, maritime zones, यानी समुद्री क्षेत्र जो अंतरराष्ट्रीय कानूनों के द्वारा तय किए जाते हैं. These zones help us determine which part of the ocean fall under control of which country and which parts are shared or governed internationally. और समुद्री अपराधों को समझने के लिए इन जोन की समझ होना बहुत जरूरी है. Under the United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea, which is popularly known as UNCLOS, these zones are divided. So, first of all, we will look at internal waters. Here on the screen, you can see internal waters. इसे हम आंतरिक जल क्षेत्र भी कहते हैं. These are areas like bays, harbors, and ports where the country has complete control. Second is the territorial sea. Up to 12 nautical miles from the coast, state has full sovereignty. However, foreign ships are allowed to pass peacefully. This is contiguous zone, and it is extended from coast to 24 nautical miles to the side of the sea. So here the country can enforce laws related to customs, immigration, and security. Exclusive economic zone. Here you can see this is exclusive economic zone, and from the coast it extends up to 200 nautical miles. This is the most important zone. Countries have exclusive rights to fish, drill, and use natural resources here. And this is continental shelf. If the seabed naturally extends beyond 200 miles, countries can claim over seabed resources like oil and minerals here in this zone. These zones are essential for managing, protecting maritime resources and for tackling challenges like illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Moving on to what is maritime security. Traditionally, maritime security was all about protecting sea lanes from pirates or naval invasion. But with the onset of 21st century, this concept has expanded. Today, maritime security includes not only the protection of our oceans from piracy and armed robbery, but also from drug trafficking, illegal fishing, pollution, climate threats, territorial disputes, and naval tensions. मरीन सिक्योरिटी का उद्देश्य ये है कि समुद्र को सुरक्षित और साफ सबके लिए उपयोगी बनाया जाए, ताकि व्यापार, मछली पकड़ना और यातायात सही तरीके से चल सके. इसलिए आज मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी सिर्फ सेनाओं तक ही सीमित नहीं है, बल्कि इसमें कानून, पर्यावरण, मछुआरे, वैज्ञानिक और सरकार सबकी भूमिका है. Now we will discuss one of the most famous scholarly perspective by Christian Buger. Maritime security can be understood as the protection of maritime domains from threats like piracy, trafficking, smuggling, environmental crimes, and more recently, IUU fishing, as we discussed above. Christian Buger, in his famous article of 2015, known as What is Maritime Security, argues that maritime security is a conceptual umbrella. यानी मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी सिर्फ समुद्र की सुरक्षा नहीं, नौसेना तक सीमित नहीं होती, ये एक व्यापक अवधारणा है जिसे हम 4 हिस्सों में समझ सकते हैं. पहला हिस्सा नेशनल सिक्योरिटी, ऑल्सो नोन एज राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा, जैसे कि दुश्मन देश की घुसपैठ से बचाव. उदाहरण, समुद्र के रास्ते आतंकवादियों को रोकना. इस मुद्दे को ज्यादा समझा गया या इंपॉर्टेंस दी गई आफ्टर 26/11 terrorist attacks that happened in Mumbai. Second is environmental protection, समुद्र को साफ और सुरक्षित रखना, जैसे प्लास्टिक या तेल का रिसाव रोकना. नीली अर्थव्यवस्था, ब्लू इकोनॉमी, समुद्र से कमाई करना लेकिन जिम्मेदारी से, जैसे मछली पकड़ना, समुद्री पर्यटन, तेल गैस निकालना. मानवीय सुरक्षा, ह्यूमन सिक्योरिटी, मछुआरों और समुद्र से जुड़े लोगों की जीविका को बचाना, जैसे छोटे मछुआरों को बड़े विदेशी जहाजों से बचाना. आज समुद्र से जुड़े खतरे बहुत तरह के हैं, चोरी, तस्करी, अवैध मछली पकड़ना, जलवायु परिवर्तन. इसीलिए हमारी सुरक्षा की सोच भी कई दिशाओं में होनी चाहिए. मूविंग ऑन टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज ब्लू इकोनॉमी. अब हम समझते हैं कि ब्लू इकोनॉमी या नीली अर्थव्यवस्था क्या होती है. ब्लू इकोनॉमी का मतलब है समुद्र से जुड़े संसाधनों का ऐसा इस्तेमाल जिससे आर्थिक विकास तो हो लेकिन समुद्र और पर्यावरण को नुकसान ना पहुंचे. इट मीन्स यूजिंग ओशियन रिसोर्सेज फॉर इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ व्हाइल कीपिंग द हेल्दी सी. ये समुद्री अर्थव्यवस्था 3 चीजों का संतुलन चाहती है. कौन सी है वो 3 चीजें? पहली है आर्थिक विकास, इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ. सेकेंड इज लोगों की आजीविका बेहतर हो, दैट इज बेटर लाइवलीहुड अपॉर्चुनिटीज. समुद्री पर्यावरण की सेहत बनी रहे, हेल्दी ओशियन इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम. इसमें कई सेक्टर शामिल होते हैं, फिशरीज, शिपिंग, टूरिज्म, ऑफशोर एनर्जी, मेरीन बायोटेक्नोलॉजी. ट्रेडिशनल मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी सिर्फ कमाई पर ध्यान देती थी, जैसे ज्यादा से ज्यादा मछली पकड़ना या समुद्र से तेल गैस निकालना. लेकिन ब्लू इकोनॉमी कहती है विकास हो पर पर्यावरण भी संरक्षित रहे. ये सोच संरक्षण, दैट इज कंजर्वेशन, और विकास, डेवलपमेंट, दोनों को साथ लेकर चलती है. भारत जैसे देश के लिए जहां समुद्र से लाखों लोगों की जीविका जुड़ी है और तट रेखा बहुत लंबी है, 7,500 किलोमीटर्स, ब्लू इकोनॉमी एक बड़ा मौका है, ऐसा मौका जो इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ और भविष्य की पीढ़ियों के लिए समुद्री जीवन को सुरक्षित रखने का रास्ता दिखाता है. Now coming to the core issue of our topic, what is IUU fishing? Now let us understand the IUU fishing, that stands for illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. To understand this term better, we have to understand each word separately and what all activities comprises them. So to understand that, I have this map, we can say map or image. So when I will tell you what activities are in illegal or unreported or unregulated fishing, I want you to focus on all the activities that are given here. Nation A and Nation B, and there is mentioned here exclusive economic zone of 200 nautical miles, and after that the area comes under regional fisheries management organization. So what does illegal activities comprises? So fishing in exclusive economic zone without a license. So here you can see this ship is fishing in the EEZ of Nation A, and it is fishing without a proper license. So vessels operating in other nations' water without proper authorization. Fishing non-permitted species. That means catching species that are either endangered or restricted by national regulation of that nation. Then comes fishing above quota. So there are some quotas decided based on the seasons. So when the fishers harvest more fishes than legally allowed. Fishing with illegal gear, using nets, hooks, or techniques that are bent due to their destructiveness. Fishing in prohibited area, marine protected areas, violating spatial restrictions that aim to preserve ecosystems. Now, what all activities comprises in unreported fishing? So, when some of the ships evade the monitoring systems in the high seas under RFM or regional fisheries management organizations jurisdiction, those activities are considered as unreported. Specifically, misreporting the catches, that is deliberately providing false data on species, volumes, or locations, not reporting catches, that is entirely failing to log fishing operations, failure to broadcast vessel location, that is turning off transponders to avoid detection, known as going dark. Coming on to the activities that are unregulated. Unregulated are those activities that find loopholes in the laws or there is lack of governance. Some actions are technically outside legal frameworks. So one of them is fishing in RFMO without license, operating in RFMO zone without being a party to management agreement, fishing out of the season, ignoring temporal restrictions designed to protect breeding cycles, transferring fish without authorization, conducting transshipment at the sea without oversight, which can conceal illegal catches. Now, apart from all these activities, there are also certain type of activities that are considered as deceptive and evasive practices. Vessel with false flag, registering under a different nation to evade enforcement. Vessel with dual flag, switching flags depending on location or enforcement presence. Unlicensed border hopping, crossing maritime borders to fish in neighboring EEZ without the permits. कमिंग ऑन टू इलीगल, अब हम एक बेहद महत्वपूर्ण विजुअल पर ध्यान देते हैं जिसे सिक्योर फिशरीज एंड यूनाइटेड नेशन ऑफिस ऑन ड्रग्स एंड क्राइम्स ने अपने प्रोजेक्ट कॉट रेड हैंडेड के तहत निकाला था, इसके तहत बनाया था. Let's take a moment to look at this powerful visual. This clearly summarizes the major threats to maritime security, जिनमें शामिल हैं पायरेसी, समुद्री डकैती, आर्म्स ट्रैफिकिंग, हथियारों की तस्करी, ड्रग स्मगलिंग, नशीले पदार्थों की तस्करी, पॉल्यूशन और सबसे अहम आईयूयू फिशिंग, यानी गैर कानूनी, बिना रिपोर्ट की गई और अनियमित मछली पकड़ना. अब जरा गौर करिए, इलीगल फिशिंग को इस चार्ट में सबसे ऊपर रखा गया है, यानी कि टॉप थ्रेट. ये सिर्फ पर्यावरण या आर्थिक मुद्दा नहीं है, ये एक सुरक्षा संकट, सिक्योरिटी क्राइसिस के रूप में उभरा है. रिपोर्ट के अनुसार 80% से ज्यादा लोग, मोर देन 80% पीपल कंसीडर आईयूयू फिशिंग टू बी द मोस्ट डेंजरस थ्रेट. सबसे बड़ा खतरा माना जाता है, पायरेसी या स्मगलिंग से भी ज्यादा. इसका क्या मतलब है? इसका मतलब है कि दुनिया भर में अब ये समझ बन रही है कि आईयूयू फिशिंग ना केवल मछलियों को खतरे में डालता है, बल्कि ये तटीय देशों की सुरक्षा, स्थानीय समुदायों की जीविका और क्षेत्रीय स्थिरता पर भी असर डालता है. इसके हम कुछ एग्जाम्पल्स देखेंगे, कुछ उदाहरण देखते हैं. इंडियन ओशियन में हाल ही में 2024 में कुछ चीनी फिशिंग वेसल्स को पकड़ा गया जो भारतीय एक्सक्लूसिव इकोनॉमिक जोन में घुसकर आईयूयू फिशिंग कर रहे थे. इससे भारत की सुरक्षा एजेंसियों में चिंता बढ़ गई, क्योंकि इन जहाजों के साथ निगरानी उपकरण भी थे. श्रीलंका और भारत के बीच मछलियों को लेकर विवाद अक्सर न्यूज सुर्खियों में रहता ही है. कॉक स्टेट में भारतीय मछुआरों पर गैर कानूनी ढंग से मछली पकड़ने का आरोप लगता ही रहता है, और इससे डिप्लोमेटिक टेंशंस भी देखने को मिलती हैं बिटवीन इंडिया एंड श्रीलंका. थर्ड वन इज ईस्ट अफ्रीका, कीनिया एंड सोमालिया के मछुआरे बताते हैं कि कैसे आईयूयू फिशिंग के कारण उनके पास अब कम मछलियां बचती है. इससे कई जगहों पे समुद्री हिंसा को भी जन्म मिल रहा है. मतलब वो मछली कम पकड़ पाते हैं, जिससे कि आपस में लड़ाइयां ज्यादा हो रही हैं. इस समस्या से निपटने के लिए हमें इसे केवल पर्यावरण या अर्थव्यवस्था की नजर से ही नहीं, बल्कि राष्ट्रीय और मानवीय सुरक्षा की नजर से भी देखना होगा. Let us now understand why the world sees IUU fishing as a global security, economic, and human concern, not just as an environmental one. IUU फिशिंग की वजह से क्या क्या नुकसान हो रहे हैं? पहला नुकसान, सीमा और संप्रभुता को खतरा। आईयूयू फिशिंग अक्सर विवादित क्षेत्रों में ही होती है। जब विदेशी जहाज किसी देश की अनुमति के बिना उसकी समुद्री सीमा में मछली पकड़ते हैं, तो ये राष्ट्रीय संप्रभुता का सीधा उल्लंघन होता है। जैसे कि अभी हमने ऊपर एग्जाम्पल देखा कि भारत के तमिलनाडु के मछुआरे और श्रीलंकाई नौसेना के बीच तनाव, या अफ्रीका में विदेशी ट्रॉलर द्वारा अवैध शिकार। सेकेंड इज अन्य अपराधों को बढ़ावा देना। जहां आईयूयू फिशिंग होती है, वहां अक्सर साथ में हथियारों की तस्करी, मानव तस्करी और ड्रग तस्करी जैसे अपराध भी पनपते हैं। ये सभी मिलकर स्थानीय और वैश्विक सुरक्षा को खतरे में डालते हैं। आर्थिक नुकसान, हर साल आईयूयू फिशिंग से लगभग 26 मिलियन टन मछली पकड़ी जाती है। इसकी बाजार में कीमत 1.9 लाख करोड़ से भी ज्यादा है। और ये पैसा सरकारों के टैक्स सिस्टम में नहीं आता, और कानूनी रूप से मछली पकड़ने वाले समुदाय और उद्योगों को भी सीधा नुकसान होता है। आजीविका पर असर, आईयूयू फिशिंग के कारण समुद्री जीवों की संख्या घटती जा रही है। उससे उन लाखों मछुआरों की जीविका खतरे में पड़ रही है जो पीढ़ियों से समुद्र पर निर्भर है। फिफ्थ वन इज मानव सुरक्षा, ह्यूमन सिक्योरिटी पर असर। जब मछुआरों की कमाई घटती है, तो वो जोखिम भरे रास्ते जैसे माइग्रेशन, चाइल्ड लेबर या कॉन्फ्लिक्ट की ओर जाने को मजबूर हो जाते हैं। कई बार उन्हें कर्ज में डूबकर काम करना पड़ता है, जिससे मानव तस्करी जैसी समस्याएं जन्म लेती हैं। आईयूयू फिशिंग से डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज को सबसे ज्यादा नुकसान होता है, क्योंकि उनकी कोस्टल सिक्योरिटी मजबूत नहीं है अभी इतनी। फूड सिक्योरिटी पे भी खतरा आता है। लो इनकम देशों में समुद्री मछलियां मुख्य प्रोटीन का स्रोत होती हैं। क्लाइमेट गोल्स भी प्रभावित होते हैं, क्योंकि सस्टेनेबल फिशरीज का कोलैप्स इकोसिस्टम को भी असंतुलित कर देता है। Coming on to another world map known as Illegal Fishing Risk Index. In this world map, countries are ranked based on their IUU fishing risk score. Using 1 indicates lowest risk to 5 indicating highest scale. In 2023, China scored worst at 3.69, reflective of its expansive distant water fleets and challenges in governance. Among its ranked countries are India, Indonesia, Russia, and Yemen, showing how widespread the problem is. Here we can see the economic impact of IUU fishing across major oceans. Some ocean regions loses up to even more than $20 billion or more annually. These losses disproportionately affect developing countries where enforcement is weaker and dependence on fisheries is high. It's an issue of justice and inequality, not just an issue of law enforcement. In this, you can see the oceans that are majorly affected are Eastern Central Atlantic and Western Central Pacific. Eastern Central Atlantic and Western Central Pacific. Moving on to the global efforts, global initiatives to combat IUU fishing. Globally, there has been surge in efforts to counter IUU fishing. The FAO's Port and State Measures Agreement, popularly known as PSMA, is the first binding international treaty that prevents illegally caught fish from entering global market. Over 75 countries have ratified it. India is not one of them currently. Complementing this is Global Fishing Watch, a collaborative project that uses satellite data and AI to monitor fishing vessel movements in real time, bringing transparency to areas that were once invisible. The European Union's carding system also plays a role by publicly naming and restricting imports from countries failing to control IUU fishing in their waters. On the law enforcement side, Interpol's Project Scale assist countries in investigating and prosecuting organized criminal networks linked to fisheries, linked to IUU fishing. So they just like blacklist the illegal vessels that are involved in IUU fishing. The Blue Justice Initiative, led by Norway, aims to strengthen governance in developing coastal nations through capacity building and legal reforms. Recently, the adoption of High Seas Treaties 2023 marked a historic step towards protecting biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, which often serve as hotspot for unregulated fishing. Lastly, the urgency of this global efforts is reflected in our Sustainable Development Goal 14.4, which sets a clear target to eliminate IUU fishing by 2025. Together, these initiatives shows the global community is increasingly united in viewing IUU fishing not just a threat to fish, but to justice, security, and sustainability. Moving on to the past initiatives of India and also the ongoing ones, India has taken a multi-pronged approach to address the challenge of IUU fishing. One of the key steps has been the implementation of Vessel Monitoring System, VMS, and Automatic Identification System, AIS, which help track and regulate the movement of fishing vessels in Indian waters. The government has also introduced the National Marine Fisheries Policy 2020, which promotes sustainable and technology-driven practices in fisheries management. To enhance maritime vigilance, India has expanded its coastal surveillance network with radar stations and satellite linkages. On the diplomatic front, India regularly conducts joint patrols with countries like Sri Lanka, Maldives, Seychelles to deter illegal fishing and strengthen regional cooperation. While India has not yet ratified the FAO Port State Measure Agreement, it is still actively aligning its laws and port controls with its provisions. In addition, India participates in Indian Ocean Tuna Commission as well to support regional fisheries governance. At the community level, schemes like Matsya Sampada Yojana are helping fishers modernize their equipment and adopt sustainable practices. Lastly, the government has begun to crack down on foreign deep sea fishing vessels operating illegally in the Indian waters while reforming the registration norms for Indian fishing boats. Together, these efforts signal a shift from reactive enforcement to more comprehensive governance-based approach to maritime security and fisheries sustainability. So, what's the way forward? What can be done ahead? As we look ahead, addressing IUU fishing and strengthening maritime security will require action at multiple levels. At the national level, countries like India needs to strengthen their laws to treat IUU fishing as a serious crime, modernize vessel registration system, and make digital tracking tools like AIS, Automatic Identification System, and Vessel Monitoring System, VMS, mandatory. We also need to invest in better training and resources for our coast guards and fisheries department, while promoting policies that balance sustainability with livelihoods. At the regional level, joint patrols and shared vessel databases among neighboring countries, especially across Indian oceans, can improve surveillance and enforcement. Regional fisheries must be empowered to monitor fishing quotas and take actions against violations. Internationally, it is crucial to ensure wider adoption, and implementation of the Port State Measures Agreement. The one we talked about, that is the first legally binding international treaty to stop IUU fishing, and strengthen satellite-based tracking tools like Global Fishing Watch. Trade-based mechanisms like the EU's carding system should be used to pressurize countries that fail to act against illegal fishing. This is basically a psychological tool also. At the same time, local communities must be part of the solution. Fishers can play a key role in reporting violations, spreading awareness, and promoting sustainable practices. We must support them with training, alternative job opportunities, and voice in local decision making. Only by working across all these levels, national, regional, at the community level, and international level, we can create an effective and fair system to protect our oceans and people who depend on them. So, the concluding reflections. To conclude, what we need is a new agenda, the one that reimagines our oceans not just as a zones for extraction, exploitation, or competition, but as shared global commons that demand protection, cooperation, and justice. This agenda should place coastal communities at the center, recognizing their traditional knowledge and uh, daily practices and their dependence on the sea. It must promote science-based ocean governance that is transparent, inclusive, and rooted in sustainability. And most importantly, it should create accountability mechanisms that go beyond national borders, ensuring that no actor, whether a state or a corporation, can harm marine ecosystems without any consequences. As a student of political science, I strongly believe that maritime security is not just a military or technical challenge, it is a governance issue shaped by laws, institutions, and diplomacy, where we need people's participation. As the ocean's front lines expand, our ways of governing them must also evolve with fairness, foresight, and shared responsibility. Thank you all for your time and attention and interest. I once again express my sincere thanks to Graduate Student Talk Series for organizing this event and giving me the opportunity to present my ideas. A special thanks to our guest of honor and to each one of you who chose to be part of this conversation today.
Thank you so much, Sonali, for that insightful presentation on IUU fishing. And you definitely have shed light on the complexities of this critical issue. And I'm very much sure that all the participants, all the listeners over here, your deep research and analysis has definitely provided them as well this understanding of the impacts of IUU fishing on the marine ecosystems. So we are also running short of time. I would not be able to take all the questions that we have in the chat box, but I would definitely like to combine a few of them. And so the first question is being asked by Dr. Akriti, and she is asking how are developing countries working with regional fisheries management and dealing with this global issue?
जैसा कि मैंने बोला कि आईयूयू फिशिंग कोई भी एक पर्टिकुलर कंट्री नहीं सॉल्व कर सकती है, ये एक बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स इशू है और इसमें काफी सारे फैक्टर्स इन्वॉल्व हैं, इसीलिए इंटरनेशनल कोऑपरेशन बहुत जरूरी है. इंडिया हो या फिर जो भी कंट्रीज ओशियंस के अराउंड हैं, उन सबको कुछ कुछ स्टेप्स लेने की जरूरत है, जस्ट लाइक बायलैटरल एंगेजमेंट्स हो या फिर ग्लोबल एंगेजमेंट्स हो, जिसके थ्रू वो इस आईयूयू फिशिंग वाली प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व कर सके. वैसे ये मुद्दा काफी नया है, अभी इसके बारे में अवेयरनेस फैलाना बहुत जरूरी है फिलहाल. और जो जैसे इंडिया अभी इस पे काफी काम कर रही है, पहले जैसे कि पोर्ट, जो इंडिया के पोर्ट्स हैं उन पर सर्विलांस सिस्टम को थोड़ा इम्प्रूव किया गया है, कम्युनिटीज को भी इन्वॉल्व किया जा रहा है एट द ग्राउंड लेवल, जिससे कि इस आईयूयू फिशरीज को रोका जा सके. और जो ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज सिस्टम्स हैं कुछ कम्युनिटीज के, जैसे कि मैंने एक पेपर में पढ़ा था, मलावी में एक प्रैक्टिस है, तो उन प्रैक्टिसेस को भी अपनाया जा रहा है ये देखने के लिए कि किस तरीके से फिशिंग्स का सीजन होता है, उन सीजन्स को पढ़ा जाए और उसके अकॉर्डिंग ही कोटास को सेट किया जाए. कोई भी अनरीजनेबल कोटा नहीं सेट किया जाए जिससे कम्युनिटीज को भी दिक्कत होती है अपनी फिशरीज प्रैक्टिसेस में, और उनके रिगार्डिंग अवेयरनेस बता करके कम्युनिटीज को इन्वॉल्व करके कंट्रीज जो है वो आईयूयू फिशिंग को सॉल्व कर सकते हैं.
Definitely. Well answered, Sonali. I'll combine two questions, these two questions by Mr. Abhishek and Miss Manvi. So, the question that was asked by Mr. Abhishek is, how does India's non-participation in PSMA affect its standing in regional fisheries management organizations and the entire Indian ocean maritime governance? And कैसे जो ये हमारे, these the maybe the aspects of eco tourism and sustainable aquaculture, how can they uh, play a crucial role in promoting blue economy? So non participation of India and then India's participation in ecotourism and aquaculture. So what are your views on it?
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इंडिया ने पीएसएमए इसलिए अभी ज्वाइन नहीं किया है क्योंकि इंडिया के पास अभी इतना मैकेनिज्म नहीं है सैटेलाइट सर्विलांस का। और सेकंड इज कि अभी हमारी जो कोस्टल कम्युनिटीज हैं वो इतना ज्यादा इन सब चीजों के बारे में अवेयर नहीं है कि अगर अगर हमने जैसे पीएसएमए का एकदम स्ट्रिक्टली अभी अप्लाई कर दिया तो उनको काफी ज्यादा लाइवलीहुड्स में प्रॉब्लम होगी। और जैसा कि आपने बोला कि कैसे कोस्टल इको टूरिज्म जो है वो हेल्प कर सकेगा, तो ये एक एज एन ऑल्टरनेटिव कम्युनिटीज को हम सजेस्ट कर सकते हैं कि आप फिशिंग के साथ केवल आप फिशिंग पर ही मत डिपेंडेंट रहिए। जैसे मान लीजिए कि अगर उनका सीजन चल रहा है ब्रीडिंग का, तो उस टाइम पे आप इको टूरिज्म में पार्टिसिपेट कर सकते हैं और प्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं अपने एरियाज को एट ग्लोबल लेवल। सेकेंड इज IOTC, Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. So Indian Ocean Tuna Commission was formed to preserve the all types of tuna. Now tuna is also a fish, and बेसिकली इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर भी हम यही इंडिया जो है वो यही शो करती है कि हम मैरीटाइम गवर्नेंस को लेके अब काफी सीरियस होते जा रहे हैं। और केवल सिक्योरिटी ही नहीं, अब सारे एस्पेक्ट्स को मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी के इंडिया भी कंसीडर करने लगा है। अपार्ट फ्रॉम जस्ट फ्रॉम नॉट नेवी, कम्युनिटीज आर आल्सो इन्वॉल्व करेंगे।
Right. So I've answered both the questions pretty well, Sonali. And since we have this paucity of time, I would not be able to take any further questions, and we are apologetic for that. But we have one last question that we ask to all our speakers, which would be, to tell us about your experience with the platform and how was your journey with the team of GSTS.
पर्सनल लेवल पे मुझे काफी पब्लिकली बोलने में काफी डर लगता है, बट मनीष सर बहुत अच्छे तरीके से गाइड करते हैं। कॉन्फिडेंस तो बोलने के लिए चाहिए, आप कुछ भी बोल रहे हो ना, आपको फिर भी एक कॉन्फिडेंस होना चाहिए बोलने के लिए। वो तभी आता है जब आपको कोई टीचर आगे बढ़ाता है, आपको बोलता है कि आप बोलिए, आपसे गलती होगी, हम बताएंगे कि कैसे सही होगी, और वो बहुत जरूरी है। तो मनीष सर जो हैं वो काफी इस कंटेक्स्ट में हेल्प करते हैं। बाकी जो सब मॉडरेटर्स थे, जैसे कि आपने प्री मीट में पार्टिसिपेट किया, आपने मुझे बताया कि क्या क्या चीजें मेरे प्रेजेंटेशन में कम थी, या फिर जैसे मैं पूरा इंग्लिश में ही बोलना चाह रही थी, फिर आपने बताया कि बायलिंगुअल भी इसको थोड़ा करना है बीच में, तो इम्पैक्ट आता है कुछ वर्ड्स पे। तो ये सब चीजें हैं, और ये बहुत बेसिक से जब हमें चीजें समझ में आती है तो आगे भी बहुत काम आती है।
Thank you, Sonali, for your presentation, for your time, and we would also hope to see you again in our future sessions as well, both as a speaker and as an active participant. So, thank you so much for being a part of the platform. So, with that presentation getting concluded, it is now again time to invite our honorable chief guest for today's session. So I would again like to invite Mr. Edward, so for giving his insights, suggestions on the topic as well as for the platform. So, sir, the stage is yours. Uh, yes, sir, you have to. All right. Yes, sir. Over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, presenter and the moderator, for a very nice presentation and very nice the way you have regulated the session. I take this very special opportunity. I feel myself that I'm honored to share some issues and to be part of this very important topic, which is exploring the ocean's front lines. Then you say why maritime security and the IUU fishing matters today. You know, as the presenter has said, that ocean or water, it comprises more than, it is over 71 or 70%. That to say, the earth is comprising only 30% of the land where we live. And most of the measures in the international agendas, especially in protecting environment and the like, you have been so much dealing with the land measures instead of dealing with the ocean and the like, which comprises of 70%, you can imagine. Historically, we have been just told that the issue regarding to security in the ocean was so much dominated with the so-called economic purpose. For example, during the mercantile, where the Europeans started to move from Europe to the rest parts of the world, they were being dominated or captured with something called the pirates while moving with the so-called bullions. I can remind some of the historians, bullions we call gold and silver. While moving in the oceans, they were being pirated. And in order to solve the problem, they established something called militarism. Small vessels had just to escort the big vessels. But at the moment we are talking about, we cannot just proceed dealing with the so-called pirates who are pirating the ships which have been carried economic issues. But we are dealing with a very special issue, which is we talk about food. When we are talking of fishing, we are just analyzing people search implemented in order to avoid illegal and unreported fishing, while at the same time we say illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. While at the same time you find people in the coastal areas, they mostly use fish as their so time they use fish as a sort of thing in their offices. And then planning, expecting that people will stop fishing. This narration will be something in a vacuum. It will be very difficult to implement. Here, what I want I'm just trying to make an emphasis, is the matter of education to the society, especially those who are living in the coastal areas. If we do not invest on educating people living in the coastal areas, and not only in the coastal areas, almost everywhere, if we do not invest in educating, the policies will never work. It is just like you stop somebody to not go and fish, then provide an alternative way. If you tell me that I should not fish using these local and probably sometimes harmful methods, you need also to create grounds, the alternative ways on which economic activity should be used in order to supplement. If people they use fish as a source of food, if they should not, if they are just required not to go and fish illegally, now what should they do? Is there any alternative economic activity that will replace fishing? And it becomes so difficult, my dears, everybody to register and to report whatever he or she is going at least to fish in order to get food. It's very difficult. Sometimes it becomes simple if we make it in a theoretical manner, but if we take the same into practice, it becomes very difficult. And that's why the question that has been asked by two of the participants, we said how the Africans, one said how Africans and the developing countries do take measures in order to avoid such illegal and reported IUU fishing. And the presenter has tried, at least maybe I just put an emphasis on there. My dear friends, no single person, no single country, no single organization will facilitate this, because it captures the interest and the life of people in the world. And therefore, we need a coordinated we need an effort that will join the effort, including I and you. I from Africa, we should go hand in hand with you from India in order to protect it. Remember a fish that you can see, for example, in Mumbai, some years you can find the same in Dar es Salaam. It's very simple. And therefore, if India will manage to protect IUU, while Dar es Salaam in Tanzania has not managed to protect, the issue will be just like we are doing nothing. That's why the presenter has just commented, we need a coordinated effort, whether developed countries or developing countries. We need to have a coordinated, well-organized, including diplomatic relations, in order to improve the proper use of the products that we get in the ocean. We should remember, while these IUUs methods are being used in capturing fish, the people also use chemicals sometimes in order to catch fish. They use chemicals. So if chemicals are being used unreportedly, illegally, remember they will harm not only the life of fishes and the other organisms living in the oceans, they will also destroy the lives of individual persons who are using the same as a source of food. Therefore, it's like we are killing ourselves unknowingly. We kill the fish at the same time, so we are killing ourselves. Very unfortunately, the topic is so sensitive and it is sometimes being connected with the intelligence and the security related issues. So my idea, not only to the presenter, but also to all participants, we need just to take this as a serious agenda. While we are trying to clean our environment, while we are trying to clean everything where we see, we need also to consider that the world has been dominated by ocean, has been also connected everywhere. We say ocean has got no end. And therefore we need the effort that will help us as a very coordinated, as a well united, in order to protect the ocean that in which we are also protecting ourselves. Therefore, we say, as I said, no single nation can address the challenges alone. Collaboration through global organizations like the International Marine Organization, IMO, and the Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, is necessary to develop and uphold robust international legal frameworks. The Port State Measures Agreement, which has been also presented very well by the presenter, PSCMA, which seeks to prevent and discourage IUU fishing by denying port entry to vessels engage in such activities, is a critical component of this strategy. It is a critical. It allows for coordinated enforcement of regulations and seals a significant loophole that IUU fishers have long exploited. Maybe I just end with my discussion on why this topic matters today. Why is it so important today? And not at that particular moment we are talking about 14th century, where people were dealing with protecting their wealth in the ocean. It is important because the oceans are turning into contested front lines. They are turning into contested front lines. Not only in geopolitics, but also in resources, disputes, environmental degradation, and non-state criminal activity. Fisheries, and we say depletion, is also rapidly approaching a tipping point. Once fish stock collapses, coastal communities and other people in the world at large will also collapse. But also we are talking about the climate and the geopolitical changes, which are now also pushing IUU vessels into new areas, making maritime security a critical across disciplines challenges. Therefore, the topic is not only for historians, the topic is not for chemists, The topic is not for biologists. The topic is not for only for military officials. This topic is really what we call a multidisciplinary. If we want just to know the meaning of disciplinary, is just this topic reflecting, it just captures the interest of everyone and it captures the impact to everyone. Just to conclude, maritime security and IUU fishing remains a significant challenge in ocean governance in the 21st century. These issues are complex, affecting ecological balance, economies, and strategic interests, and they are linked to global power dynamics, climate change, and technological gaps. Tackling IUU fishing is essential for protecting marine environments, securing economic stability, and preserving geopolitical stability. Enhancing compliance involved innovative surveillance methods, as the speaker has said, regional alliances, and technological advances to efficiently safeguard the oceans. Without such efforts, IUU fishing will continue to damage the ocean. As I said, it is just a source of food. And just telling people not to go without giving them the solution, it is nothing. They will just stop in the afternoon, then they will go in the night. If you put some vessels just to check for them, maybe to supervise them, they will also just find an alternative way. No way a person can live without food. So let's just keep the topic rolling. Let's try our level best to educate. Let's try our level best to coordinate one another. I thank you so much once again for inviting me to this very precious and very important topic and very important discussion regarding GST. Thank you so much, Dr. Manish. You have been coordinating the event, not missing. I've been just following every Sunday. The topic is there. I will share some references to the presenter regarding the presentation that will enrich his her presentation. And as I said, it is just linked to the so-called security matters. So we need just to go with it while we try to educate, but also we need just to go in a very, very, very careful way. Thank you so much once again for inviting. I wish to meet you even in the coming sessions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your suggestions. And I'm very much sure that the idea that you brought forward, that this is not an individual centric or one community centric or one nation centric issue to be dealt with, it is rather an issue of mutual collaboration and mutual understanding of the marine ecosystem. So, sir, it was a pleasure having you here for the 231st session of GSTS, and we are very much grateful to you for sparing and sharing your Sunday evening with us here. Thank you so much, sir. With that being said, it is now time to invite our upcoming speaker for the next Sunday, that is for GSTS 232. So for this talk, I would like to invite Miss Sanskriti, who would be expressing her views on the topic tracing gender and law from Vedic egalitarianism to post-colonial realities. So Sanskriti, you can just introduce your topic to the listeners here, and the stage is yours.
Thank you, ma'am. Greetings to everyone. I'm Sanskriti, a student of BA Honours History at Matasundari College for Women, University of Delhi. My topic for GSTS talk, as already mentioned by ma'am, is going to be tracing gender and law from Vedic egalitarianism to post-colonial realities. Through this topic, we will explore gender roles, the legal definitions of gender and womanhood, and how the laws surrounding them have evolved over time. I will be covering objectives starting with an introduction of gender, law, and then we will explore the Rigvedic society for context and laws for women. From there, we will move into the colonial period to talk about the British legal interventions, and then we'll discuss the shifting legal definitions of women throughout the centuries, economic marginalization, and pay gaps which are often seen today, and marital laws. Finally, the post independence era for a nuanced understanding of the evolving nature of our topic. The talk will then culminate with my personal ideological standpoints shaped by academic research. I am looking forward to connecting with you all next Sunday to delve deeper into this fascinating topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sanskriti, for introducing your topic to all of us. And I would again like to invite everyone to be a part of this upcoming session, which is really going to be a very comprehensive analysis of the topic, which is very critical, but also a very sensitive one. So, the topic, to repeat myself, it will be tracing gender and law from Vedic egalitarianism to post colonial realities. And the timing is again 5 p.m. on next Sunday. So as we have started with the presentations of August today, it is also time to celebrate and acknowledge the speakers of the previous month who dedicated their time for presenting their research ideas. And therefore, it is now time to announce our speaker of the month for the month of July. So in July, we had four speakers: Miss Manasvi, who spoke on Reserve Bank of India's digital rupee. So that the concept of digital rupee in India and how Reserve Bank takes it was covered by her. The next presenter was Miss Parina, who talked about MSP and inclusive growth in India, and the talk was given on 13th of July, which was GSTS 228. The third presentation in the month of July was by Miss Manita, encapsulating the topic of nationalism by various scholars, where she analyzed the perspectives of different scholars and their take on nationalism. So, how the concept of nationalism has developed was taken up by her. And the fourth speaker was Miss Anjali, who talked about Indian traditions and how certain concepts in the Indian knowledge system can pave paths for global leadership. So these were the four speakers, a completely girl dedicated month of July that we had. And the speaker who has been selected as the speaker of the month is Miss Parina. Uh, Again, GSTS 228. So Parina, we would like to congratulate you for your topic, and definitely your topic has given a lot of inputs to various scholars who were there as a part of your audience that day. And because of some unforeseen reasons, Parina is not here, has not been able to join us with today's session, but we would again like to congratulate her and extend our heartfelt wishes to her for being selected as the speaker of the month.